environment. My name is Esther Wachuku, and let me tell you guys something. In as much as it's thank God it's Friday, Nigerians they hustle, and trust me, the hustle they real. Like there is no kidding about it. The hustle is sincerely real. So today is a bumper to bumper day. Today is also very special. So I want you to join us live on at VOP 903 FM on YouTube. All right, that's why I said today is going to be an amazing day, because the caliber of persons we have here. You really want to be part of the conversation. You really want to be part of the program. I'm also streaming live on Instagram at Esther Nwaz. That's ESTANWAZ. ESTANWAZ. So you join us on our YouTube channel at VOP 903 FM virtually, and also on Instagram. We're streaming live in there. All right, and the frequency is 90.3 FM. So first of all, Nigerians in darkness as national grid suffers a partial collapse. I don't know if you noticed it. I think towards yesterday evening thereabout, there was a partial collapse in the national grid. Since then, the light did not come back up. Later this afternoon, in some areas, they recorded a little bit of resuscitation of power, but later it went off. Well, you remember that the Minister of Power has told us that we'll continue to suffer these grid collapses for as long as possible, but they are hopeful that they will stop the spate of vandalism on some of the infrastructures around, so that we can continue to experience consistent power supply. I don't know how we'll intend to go with it, but then the outage was due to a partial system failure from the Transmission Company of Nigeria, which has continued to struggle with maintenance issues. Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company reported a system outage around 2 p.m. today, and they informed their customers of the disruption. Okay, well, we are used to this. It's not the first time. Neither is it the second time. It's also not the third time. Now, there's tension, between electricity workers because they vowed to halt operations over Air Force attack on Ikeja electric workers. You recall that the National Union of Electricity Employees has strongly condemned an attack on Ikeja Electricity Distribution Company. The workers there allegedly are complaining, and that was the fact that the personnel from the Nigerian Air Force came and attacked them in their office, and this was in Ikeja. So the union described the incident as a gross act of intimidation and vowed to withdraw its services nationwide until the safety of its members is assured. So Dominic Igwebike, who is the NUEE's acting general secretary, detailed the assault. He said that on resumption of duty, some military personnel from the Nigerian Air Force Ikeja base invaded the corporate headquarters and Oshodi business unit offices of the company. They beat up and molested every staff they encountered. They destroyed personal effects such as phones, laptops, vehicles, doors, office equipment, and gadgets. The invasion took place simultaneously at the company's corporate headquarters and Oshodi business unit's offices. They took away the Oshodi business unit's commercial manager and 13 drivers in their pick-up work vehicles. They tortured them and treated them like criminals. They unleashed terror on their members. The union alleged that the attack stemmed from the disconnection of the Air Force base's power supply due to unpaid bills. Describing the incident as brutal and barbaric, the National Union of Electricity Employees called for urgent intervention from the Federal Ministry of Power and Ministry of Defense. This is very deplorable. All right, this is very deplorable. I don't think anybody should go through this kind of ordeal. Now, that is not the only situation. Guns were drawn, tension escalated as customs and fan security operatives clash at the Lagos International Airport. So the issue is breakdown of law and order, security personnel and civilians. You have the people you're meant to be fighting. Okay. There was also a tense and standoff today at the NACO, that is basically where there's the Hajj cargo terminal. So there was a test standoff which unfolded yesterday, transmitted into today, at the NACO shed of the Hajj cargo terminal at Murtala International Airport, Lagos, which followed a dispute between the Nigerian Customs Service and the Federal Airports Authority of Nigeria. The confrontation lasted for hours, This was triggered when FAN's Director of Aviation Security Services, Afegbai Albert Igbafi, was overseeing the installation of explosive trace detection machines at the Ajantako terminal around 2:30 p.m. Customs officials, claiming they had not been informed about the equipment installation, reportedly locked the FAN security director inside a shed. In response, Igbafe called for reinforcement, prompting an armed FAN security unit to arrive. The situation escalated further when customs officers summoned reinforcements from their Ikeja barracks, which created a volatile standoff. According to sources, customs officials asserted control over the airport, a claim FAN officials dismissed as baseless. The confrontation highlights a long-standing jurisdictional dispute between the two agencies, with FAN repeatedly accusing customs of disregarding aviation protocols. Also, there are emphasis that the customs' frequent non-compliance not only disrupts airport operations but also compromises safety standards. Adding to the tensions, custom officials allegedly assaulted FAN personnel who attempted to record the incident on their mobile devices. Witnesses described the attack as unprovoked and reflective of customs' disregard for aviation regulations. Trust me, today, like I told you, there are quite a lot of issues to discuss on the evening rush. But let me introduce my esteemed guest in the studio. I have right here with me in the studio Barrister Eze Eluche, who is a political, national, and social affairs commentator. Welcome to the evening rush.
Thank you very much for the invite.
Thank you so much. I'm sure most of you usually hear Barrister Eze Eluche on the World News at 6 analyzing for me. So he is here live, all right, on the evening rush. And I also have Mr. Lawal Ekundaya. Mr. Lawal Ekundaya, good evening and thank you for joining us today.
Good evening.
Welcome. TGIF. It's thank God it's Friday.
Yes.
But we must discuss issues. I'll start with you, Barrister Eze Eluche. The first one being with what transpired very recently with a situation that security operatives, security officials, and having to accost persons, maybe a grip of power to show themselves. For example, electricity workers are vowing to halt operations over their attack at the Air Force Base at Ikeja. Right? And then you now have a situation with FAN and customs. Now, these are two important units, right? The FAN and the customs. But these officials always think that they are above the law. For example, in the case of the Air Force Base, from the story I had read, apparently for electricity supply, they had wanted to install this prepaid metering system for them, so they pay as they use. There are some even arrangements you will have for such big units like that, you know, that you pay an estimated sum to them. Now, they said the naval base, they refused. The one at Ikeja, they refused for that. So they want to continue with the estimated billing. Okay, pay your bills, you're not paying. So this one's got angry and said, you can't keep feeding off and you're not paying, all right? So they decided to disconnect them. Then they came to their quarters, you know, abused them, locked some of their members in a booth, treated them like common criminals. Why? Why do we continue to experience this?
Well, I think the issue is this. We need to have special retraining and reorientation of our armed personnel, whether the security...
Training, like they don't know? Before they are conscripted, are they not trained?
Well, no. You know, even the training they have are very violent kind of training. I mean, when you look at the soldiers and the police, look at the kind of training schedule they have, it's mainly like very almost punitive, vindictive training. I don't know if they are well lectured on the fact of on the need to be subservient to civil authority. Because we're in a democracy. There is need to let the soldiers, police, all these armed personnel realize that they are serving the people. They are supposed to be subservient to civil authority. That even if you are a general in the army, when you are outside your barracks, you are subservient to even the local government chairman. You are only a boss when you are within your barracks. So that is what I mean by retraining, because that training must be knocked into their head so that they realize that, yes, you are soldiers, you have a gun, but you are not law and order. You are not the law. You must respect civil authority. So in this particular instance now, where you have soldiers coming out from their barracks, going to molest people, the issue now becomes who authorized that movement. I don't think these soldiers will just leave their base because their training is that you must have an exit. Your leaving your base must be approved by a superior officer. So the superior officer who allowed that exit, that max exit, because they now become like hoodlums. The officers who authorize that kind of movement should be severely penalized, because the soldiers, if you understand how they move, they obey the last order. Somebody gave an order, and if you penalize that person that gave that order, next time they'll behave themselves. So this kind of occurrence must be avoided, because these guys have guns, and they respect the society or this population accords them. It's not that they're stronger. It's because they are wearing the uniform, and that uniform has the coat of arms of the country, so that they represent Nigeria. If it was physical combat, then I'm sure those guys will not be beating those Nepal, those EDC's officials. So they, as much as their uniforms are respected, they must learn to respect themselves also.
But Nigerians are used to this. No, it's something that happens all the time. These individuals, because of the unit they belong to, or the fact that they have access to arms because of whatever it is they harass. It's immediate. It's instant.
Yes, but that if nonsense has continued for too long doesn't mean it must continue.
But nothing happens, for example.
Good. That is why I hope that the electricity officials take this up very serious. They are lucky that nobody died in this process. Because when soldiers with guns come to your place, and there could be accidental discharge of some bullets. So I hope they really take it serious and ensure that whoever did this authorization of these soldiers to leave the barracks must be adequately dealt with.
Okay, are they above the law to pay their bills, or is it because they are serving the nation, so maybe electricity supply should be free to them? Because I don't understand the reason why they disconnected. And before they disconnected them, they must have been communicated to, they must have been reminded, they must have been warned.
Well,
they wouldn't have just disconnected them if they had not informed them that you guys, you've not paid anything. Or is there somewhere in the rule book or in the constitution that they are exonerated, from having to pay taxes or having to pay for utility bills? I want to understand the reason why they came and attacked them.
Well, I think it's all part of the lack of governance that's going on all over the country, not just in this issue. Because they are supposed to be working under the Ministry of Defense or the Defense Headquarters. So even before you disconnect them, there must have been communication with the hierarchy. Unless the hierarchy abandons them and say, okay, let them pay their bills. If each of the units in the military has been given funds to pay their bills and they didn't pay, then you can understand or appreciate why the power officials will disconnect a particular unit. But then if it's a systemic, I think it's a systemic problem. So at the highest hierarchy, perhaps at the Ministry of Defense level, they should set up a panel to look into this matter to ensure that the appropriate disciplinary measures are meted out, particularly to the officers who allowed soldiers to come out of their barracks with guns. That was ludicrous. We are looking at no deaths occurred.
Why can't they go to Sambisa Forest?
Well, that's another issue.
Why can't they go into those dens with that kind of brazenness and clear out those guys?
That's another issue.
You come to unarmed civilians.
Yes, but you see, if we don't address this, who says they can't even come here one day and say you're mentioning them, you're talking about them? So that's why all Nigerians, we shouldn't just say this is the power officials, because it can be anybody tomorrow. So I suggest that, in fact, we shouldn't allow only the power sectors to be involved in this. The military, for whatever reason, to have allowed soldiers armed to go out to attack a civil entity is very wrong. And irrespective of the misdemeanor committed by cutting off their lights, whosoever approved that kind of journey or that kind of mission must be brought into question, must be brought to book, so that other officers in similar positions will think twice before allowing their soldiers under them to move. It doesn't sell distinction by just going to punish these rank and file soldiers who came out, because they know nothing. Their own is to obey the last order. But that order, who gave the order? And that must be identified.
Mr. Lawal Ekundayo, how do you react to the tense standoff that unfolded on Thursday with NACO, at the NACO, that is at the Hajj terminal, where, for example, a confrontation which lasted for hours, installation was ongoing for an explosive trace detection machine at the Ajanta terminal around 2:30 p.m. The customs officials claimed that they were not informed about the equipment installation, which obviously made them to lock the fan security director inside a shed. Fan then called their own people, and there was a volatile standoff. Again, this kind of upsurge of I am better than you, I'm stronger than you. It's not the first time we're seeing security units fight themselves off when they're supposed to be protecting or fighting for the people. They fight themselves. How would you describe the situation?
Thank you. Can I respond first to that Ikeja Electric?
Okay, fine. Please
incident
go ahead.
Before I come to this one, because the one you mentioned now is not new. We had such a case between the correction center and the DSS during the case of Emefiele. Do you remember?
Yes.
So you can see there's always
the DSS. It's true.
That's an experience we are feeling in a country where the rules of law are not being obeyed, and that's the same thing that is happening in the National Assembly too. The Senate that happened between the Akpabio case and Uduaga. You get those are the. But I'm coming to that. I want to respond to that Ikeja letter. Now let me tell you something. If all these things you are saying doesn't involve Ikeja Electric, I will be behind you and say yes, it's true. The excesses of the security operative has to be in caution. But when it comes to Ikeja Electric, you get it. I have no sympathy for them.
Please help me explain why.
I will tell you. One, this same thing they have done it to community people many times. They will come with armed men guarding their offices. I'm talking about Ikeja Electric. They will come with armed men guiding their offices. Mobile police at the station there. Bring them into the community to harass community members. Use them to forcefully disconnect people. Now, you are talking about estimated billing. What is estimated billing? Extortion. That's the meaning of estimated billing. Even if you are not around, even if there is no electricity, they will bring bills. Do you know? I've seen bills of 1 point something million for a flat. If you want, I will show you bills of 1 point something million. Flats, houses, 100 something thousand. Many of these people living in one room. Some of them are per month 5,000, 10,000. So that's what they share.
No, but now, if you go and complain to them, they can correct these things.
Complaints is when? Do you know how people have taken them to court? You get what I'm saying? Do you know how people have taken them to court? Do you know what did they do? Okay, there's capping. You cap at 12,000 per month. That means if you use electricity, you don't use electricity, you pay 12,000 naira. How much is salary of somebody who is going to pay 12,000 naira? They do this thing. See,
for example, I thought there is an arrangement. So if you don't have a prepaid meter in your flats, there are a group of rooms, all right, like a couple of rooms that makes up a particular compound. Let's say 4 or 5 rooms. You guys don't have that prepaid whatever, probably because you feel it's too expensive. The last time I think it was about 80,000 to buy, and then they come and install. But let's just say Ikeja Electric or any of them would tell you they don't have the machine yet, so they need to continue with the estimated
that pays them.
Yes, it pays them, but there is an agreement. That compound will go to their office. They will check. You tell them whatever it is that you use and all of that. You guys will agree. It's okay, fine. Every month, this is the bill you come to, give me. If they bring a bill that is more than what they had decided per month, that's a different issue. So I feel that the estimation doesn't just come up if an arrangement has not been had with them, unless nobody had any arrangement and they said to just bring bills to them.
See, let me tell you something. All those things you are saying, it still comes down to estimation and it's extortion. You get? Now, there's a grid collapse.
Yes.
But they'll bring bills. You get it? They'll bring high bills. There's no electricity. They'll bring bills. They'll disconnect you. They'll still be bringing bills. So there's already an agitation. It's just this because these people we are talking about, the Air Force, because they have that's why it's like they do this. In fact, they bring police into the community to force people to pay what they didn't consume. So the question is, are you not the one causing all these confrontations? Now we ask them, this prepaid meter, who owns them? When you buy prepaid meter for 100 and something thousand naira, it is their property. You don't know that prepaid meter in your house belongs to the discos. when you buy prepaid meter, that prepaid meter belongs to, it's not your property, it belongs to the disco. You cannot take it from that place you bought it and take it to another place. It will not work. Is their you ask them now, let them call in and tell me who holds that prepaid meter, and why have they refused to give the people prepaid meter when they have the prepaid meter? If you don't have it, how come people are buying it, and why are they buying it from you? So you are doing two businesses. You are supplying that, you are selling prepaid meter. You are making money on two places. Are you supposed to sell it? It's your property. You're supposed to give it to people. If you want them to buy it, then it is their property. But the people will buy it. Customers will buy that prepaid meter, and then it's still, even people who bought the prepaid meter, they are still on estimate.
Well,
I'll tell you. Wait. I'll tell you how they are on estimate. There's what to refer to as band. Electricity band.
Band A, band B, band
Band
C,
A.
band B,
Now they will tell you band A, and still your electricity is band A means minimum of 22 hours per day.
Yes.
And eventually you may not even get electricity to that day, and they will bill you for band A. You get what I'm saying? Now, all these extortions have been going on, and nobody is putting checks on them. If there is no check, there's bound to be confrontation. I'm not saying what the Air Force did is right. But what led to that? If you go to that barracks, you discover that they are placed on estimate. For when did you take over this company? When NEPA was broken down, privatized, you took over. So you took over to continue to estimate the people. You are coming into the business, you have no prepaid meter to measure, and you are estimating. Go to communities now. Even as in some areas in Mafuluku now, there's no electricity for like weeks.
Yes.
And they will bring you, they will disconnect you, they will come with mobile police from their offices, forcefully disconnect your unit, that is the transformer. When they disconnect that transformer, you still be paid, they will be bringing bills. And then they will ask, who are you going to complain to?
It's quite unfortunate,
See,
to be honest with you.
I'm not saying what the Air Force did is right. I am condemning it. But it got to a level in which it has to, it has to come to that level. That's what I'm saying. So EFCC should go and investigate the discourse. Go and investigate the discourse now. Last year, NEC fined them for 6 months. I think 9 months for over-billing, running to billions of naira, and they were fined to return those money. Did they return them?
In this case, they
were fined billions plus Ikeja Electric, billions of money. This NEC fined them for overbilling the customers. Have they returned it? Oh, billions.
That's the Electricity Regulatory Commission.
Yes. So many cases like that. And you are telling us this prepaid meter is not there. So where are you getting the one you are selling to some people who are paying? These are questions. So if you are talking about any other person or any other aggression, I will just. But if it comes to Ikeja Electric, they have no sympathy they have no sympathy at all. Look at the way he's talking. I think they have not done it to community many times, even worse than that. Do you know how many people they've locked up in I have a friend in Mafuluku. In 2016, this guy was abducted in his house. And he slept in Kirikiri.
By this Ikeja Electric?
Yes.
Abducted him for what?
Yes.
Why was he abducted?
Because he was complaining about something like this.
And so because he complained, they abducted him?
Yes.
On what grounds?
They were taking him across Makinde police station. The guy was shouting in their vehicle, inside their own vehicle.
To that effect?
And they had to drop him in Ikeja in Makinde police station in 2016.
Barrister Ezeluche, is it proper for that to take place?
Why did they have to
Where is it in legal standing? Is it part of their act?
Esther, listen to me. If somebody is owing you money, let me say you are a tenant. Excuse me. Let me say you are a tenant in a house, and the landlord said you are owing him. Who's supposed to decide the case? Is it not the court? Can the landlord come to your house and forcefully lock you out?
No.
Then why? If you say customers are owing you, if you say this Air Force base are owing, why don't you take them to court and let the court make the pronouncement? Why do you have to take law into your hands?
So are you saying that the case of this friend of yours that you mentioned in 2016, that he was abducted, there was no court order to that effect?
No. If you want the guy, I can bring you can bring him. I'll give him his number. You can call him now.
Because he was owing them, so they took him off. They didn't take him to court.
No.
Barrister, is that supposed to be?
I will give you the guy's number now. You call.
We will do prepaid, so it is what we pay that we get. When there's
they came to his own house, into his house. They said because it's disturbing them from disconnecting.
I need you to give me your own legal perspective to this.
Well, I don't know. What he's saying is not legal. It's not. I don't know under what circumstances somebody was abducted. So I don't know. I can't even talk to that because it's not in their powers to abduct somebody. But then when you veer into the area of the whole issue of privatization of NEPA and then the discos, it was a scam. It was a fraud nationwide. Whether it's Ikeja or Enugu or Bini, it was a scam, and then people just made money from NEPA, and they are continuing to make money from Nigerians. But I think the issue here is not really, if we're talking about that scam, that's a different ballgame. I think what we're discussing presently is the beating up of officials by soldiers or whatever, yes. But there are so many scams all over in this country. Is it the Nitel that was supposedly privatized and we're still paying through our nose? Is it the Housing Corporation? Is it the NNPC that was private? So if you talk about privatization, that's another ballgame. Nigeria is often described as the largest crime scene in the world. It's a living crime scene. Virtually every
the Global Terrorism Index just took them on a higher rate.
No, even the president Jonathan was telling us that he had the Boko Haram terrorists in his Aso Rock, and they have not left the Aso Rock as far as we know. So it's been, if you talk of terrorism, the system is so messed up. So I think that's a talk for another day. Yeah. The issue here is the beating up of these characters.
We condemn it. It's not supposed to happen, but
they also need to be.
We need EFCC to come and investigate this privatization of this, because we are not getting any solutions from it.
EFCC is not even the better one. I mean, EFCC is also mired in its own controversies and fraud. All the chairman of EFCC have, when they leave very, very rich, extremely, they live as billionaires. And I'm talking of from Nuhu Ribadu to Waziri to Lamrude to even this past one, and this young man, the young lad who left and was now patrolling all over the place with helicopters. So yes, so don't talk about EFCC. This is another bunch of rascals who are there. So let's talk about more serious issues.
All right, residents of Rivers State are in fear following a warning from the militant group Niger Delta Rescue Movement, which has urged non-indigens to leave as tensions rise. The group also threatened to disrupt Nigeria's oil production if the federal government does not address the political crisis. Their demand focuses on the release of Rivers State's federal allocation, which was recently withheld by a Supreme Court ruling. In fact, last Friday, as you do know, the Supreme Court upheld a decision to suspend Rivers State's federal allocation until a legitimate House of Assembly with Martin Amawule as Speaker is established. Now, in response, Amawule gave the governor 48-hour ultimatum to present the 2025 state budget to the House. The deadline expired at midnight on Wednesday, or further escalating the crisis. Now, a viral video showed 8 armed men, reportedly the Niger Delta Rescue Movement members, wielding AK-47 rifles and chanting "Asana, Asana." It's a common slogan amongst the Ijo people of the Niger Delta. I wanted to just briefly take a listen to these individuals on their claims as to why they think that the situation in Rivers State should be resolved as soon as possible.
I think most Nigerians have seen the video. If it's have difficult coming up,
or maybe we should respond.
You have the.
Statement by the Niger Delta Rescue Movement. We, the Niger Delta Rescue Movement, wish to express our deep concern regarding the recent development in Rivers State that threaten the smooth governance of our beloved state under the leadership of come to our attention that certain individuals, self-proclaimed as lawmakers, have issued an unfounded 48 hours ultimatum to the governor to present 2025 state budget. This blatant attempt to destabilize the state is not only alarming but also a clear indication of a coordinated effort to incite chaos, potentially leading to call for a state of emergency and even impeachment. We call on President Bola Tinubu to intervene immediately and put a stop to the action of the FCT Minister, Yeso Wike, and his associates, who seem intent on dragging Rivers State into an avoidable crisis. The people of Rivers State desire stability, progress, and a conducive environment for governance. Furthermore, we must make it abundantly clear that the youth of Rivers State, we will not sit idly while our state is drawn into tumult. If the federal allocation due to Rivers State are not released promptly, we will have no choice but to take it decisively action.
That this kind of thing will happen with what was going on, with the back and forth in Rivers State. How do you react to these threats?
The reality is that when the Supreme Court made that pronouncement,
Yes.
that they had authorized the CBN to stop paying monies to Rivers State government, to most of us who observed the situation, it was not only unconstitutional, it was ultra-virus, and it was a step towards anarchy.
You think so?
Definitely. I mean, I don't know under what frame of mind the judges or the justice of the Supreme Court were acting when they made such pronouncements that are very weighty, that have no backing in law. And I'm very emphatic because
they give their reason.
This Supreme Court has severally, right from the election material cases, been acting in manners that make people wonder what school of law did these characters go to. And I'm saying that with all seriousness. Because when you deprive a component state of all its funding, a state pays salaries, a state has pensioners, a state has, in fact, life revolves around the state. And the Supreme Court dares says that the CBN should withhold all funds from Rivers State. It was clearly a call for anarchy. And I had initially, even until now, I still believe that what the government should have done was say, okay, if you don't want us to get money from CBN, then what Rivers State should do is to stop payments of anything to the federal government and by itself begin to sell its resources, whatever it has, to make sure that the people of Rivers State do not die. Because this is a life or death matter. The Supreme Court should have won a cap of reasoning and adapted, be more pragmatic towards resolving this issue. Because the issue in question is just the issue of the members of the House who had actually lost their seat. Because Section 109, subsection 1G of the Nigerian Constitution is very, very clear, explicitly clear, on what happens to any member of the State House of Assembly who decamps from the party that elected him and goes to another party, particularly if that party is does not have a faction. And as at the time, these 27 members announced their defection from the PDP and were celebrating themselves that they had now left the PDP and were in APC. There was no faction. So automatically, on that day, the 27 of them ceased. They stopped becoming members of the Rivers House of Assembly.
But the Supreme Court said there was no evidence to prove otherwise.
No, they can say whatever they like. But Nigerians saw these characters celebrating. They saw them announce their withdrawal from the decampment from the PDP, and the videos are there. So the Supreme Court can say whatever it wants to say. Nigerians are not stupid.
Are you saying the Supreme Court were accused with the judgment?
Whatever, that is their business. I don't know what they're saying, but I'm telling you what Nigerians know. What we saw, the videos are available, that these 27 characters decamped from the PDP to another party. At that time they decamped. Nothing else has to be added or done. They have lost their seat. If there is only one or two members of the Rivers House of Assembly remaining, that remainder becomes the House of Assembly until INEC conducts elections to fill those seats. And INEC has not done any elections. And the Supreme Court now has ordered the state government to read the budget before non-members of the House. Let me say this. Clearly, when they leave office, when they make that decampment, nothing has to be done. You don't have to declare a party for them or whatever. They have left office immediately. That is the law. I mean, I don't know why it's difficult for this particularly Supreme Court to understand the Nigerian Constitution. This was exactly what they did during the election tribunals, when they couldn't even understand what AND means. When they failed to realize that somebody who had paid fines for drug-related offenses cannot contest an election. And they keep on circumventing the law. So it's quite unfortunate. And what is going to happen in Rivers State you don't need to be a rocket scientist to be able to understand that when you deprive a state of funds to even pay salaries, to fuel vehicles, there is bound to be reactions. And that is the reactions. And now you even see from the utterances of these so-called 27 characters, when they give ultimatums to the sitting governor, they give ultimatums to whoever. I mean, they don't even act in a legislative manner because they know they're not legislators. So the reality is that in Rivers State, if the federal government is not very careful, Rivers State can be the beginning of something bigger. In the First Republic, it was the Operation Wetia in the Southwest that precipitated a lot of crisis. Must we keep on going through this process? Must we keep on? Why? There could have been other means of resolving this issue in Rivers State than for the kind of pronouncement that the Supreme Court made. And up till date, I think it was just today that the CTCs came out.
Yesterday.
Good.
Yesterday.
But already people were already beginning to act based on judgment that without a certified true copy of the judgment. So I mean, I hope the leaders of the judiciary are able to call themselves to order.
Well, the Supreme Court, based on the certified true copy, said that there is no iota or shred of evidence to prove that the 27 lawmakers defected from the People's Democratic Party to the All Progressives Congress. So if Fubara's legal team could not or if that video is not strong enough evidence, what other evidence was needed to be legitimate, to be considered legitimate, to indicate that they indeed defected? No,
the fact is that the matter before the Supreme Court was not the legitimacy or otherwise of the decampment. That was not the issue. The Supreme Court was deciding on other issues. So the fact remains.
No, the Supreme Court reserved judgment on either they defected or not. That was when we got the first one was the fact that he must represent the budgets based on the High Court's ruling initially to a properly constituted Rivers State House of Assembly.
Esther, listen. The Supreme Court was not having before it that case of deciding if there was a defection or not. And I'm telling you that the reality is that Nigerians saw the defection. Nigerians observed it. Nigerians witnessed it. We saw these men flying flags of their party, of the new party, and that they were going to meet their master in Abuja. So you don't have to tell stories. I mean, we should not make the law appear to be an ass.
Okay, could it be Fubara's legal team? Because according to what the Supreme Court, Fubara had accused the 27 lawmakers of defecting, but later voluntarily withdrew the allegations at the Federal High Court, and so no defection had taken place, and the Assembly must continue as it was. It's a fault from Fubara, who withdrew it earlier, which is based on the Supreme Court's ruling.
That's why I say, from the section of the Constitution I just read to you, nothing extra has to be done. Fubara can do nothing to stop that defection that has already taken place. Even the so-called arrangements at a peace meeting which the president, Asiwaju Tinubu, organized between Wike's faction and Fubara in Aso Rock is nonsensical, because these men have defected. And the Constitution does not say after defection once they defect, the only way to refill their seats is if INEC conducts another election. And no election has been conducted. So whatever peace moves that were made in Aso Rock, whatever things that were signed, whatever documents of peace overtures amount to nonsense, because the Constitution does not allow for that. Once you have defected, and the language is very, very clear. Nigerians should have their Constitution. Section 109, subsection 1, sub G is very, very clear. Once you defect from the party upon which you were elected to another party, and there was no division or fraction in that your initial party, you have lost your seat. I mean, you can't be more clear than that. So nothing except if they win elections again, can bring those 27 men back to the house. So whatever, if Fubara likes, let him go and swear affidavit. That's not an election. If Asijuwaju likes, let him organize a meeting and let them swear an oath that they're coming back to the house. That is not an election. We should take our constitution serious, for goodness sake. Otherwise, we can throw it to the garbage bin and then anybody does what he likes in this country.
Adetokunbo Pierce is saying that, okay.
I want to respond to that.
Please, kindly do.
That's why I keep saying, you get it, that the crisis in Rivers State is what the federal government wants. It's the hands of the federal government. I've been saying this. You know what, you can say anything. Is that what you are saying?
No.
Automatically you start
immediately
because that person lost his seat the moment he died. Now these people lost their seat. It's not different from somebody who died. The same thing he said, lost your seat if so and so you listen, and one of the criteria is met. So what is we should ask INEC why INEC should come to the press and tell us why they have refused to act based on the constitution.
INEC explained that they were waiting for a court order because of the.
Why will you wait for a court order?
That was what they were.
That's what I'm saying. Why will you wait for? That's why I said the federal government just said INEC don't do anything. As long as you don't do anything, don't worry, they will come to the Supreme Court. Is that not it?
So
they go to court.
All of this. Somebody induced INEC. Somebody also knew that it was going to get to this. Could this be where Wike was confident that things were?
That's why they had to. They know that because INEC is federal government. You get it?
INEC is federal government. Okay.
Is that not federal?
INEC is not supposed to be federal government.
It's okay. It's not supposed. So who appointed the chairman?
The president did.
Will you appoint somebody that will go against you?
The former president did.
See the way you get it. We don't have all these separations of even in the state. Look at the state. Look at what is happening in the state. The state, yes, whatever INEC, is it free? Do they have their own separate office? So all these things are what is happening. Can somebody go to court and say, I want you to stop the 2027 election from happening? Can you go to court?
With this Supreme Court, it's possible.
I don't know.
Nothing. I can't take anything away from the Supreme Court.
Are you sure? But that will be unconstitutional.
Well, several unconstitutional things have been done. I cannot take anything away from this Supreme Court.
Wow, interesting. Okay, let's look at this particularly. The situation now with this militants having to make these threats. They're asking non-indigents to leave the states because they're about to start, what if the federal government conscripts military men, just like how they've overtaken the southeast? What then happens? So, invade where it is they hide and rout them out.
Can you do that? Do you remember what happened during the time these boys were, causing problem in Niger Delta? You know what happened? That place is a creek now. They know the place very well, than the soldiers or whosoever you are bringing in. And they are armed. Are we going to go back to that stage again? Because like Barrister said, it's like you refuse to give your children money to feed. You refuse to give them food. What do you expect? They will steal now. And when they steal, people will ask you, they will tell everybody that, did you feed them? Our father didn't feed us. Now, Supreme Court is making pronouncement that you withhold. If you withhold this thing, how would the state governor pay salaries? Now, if they don't pay salaries, would they not begin to do illegal things to be able to feed themselves? Are we not coming back to that? Supreme Court is not blind. They are human beings like us now. And they saw what happened, that those people defected. And then you are playing with the law in order to create this. And these people came back. Let me tell you something. Even if Fubara represents the budget to them, it is still illegal. You get it? Because somebody can, by the time they take this thing to court, eventually they will come back and say everything they've been doing, you get it, is null and void. So you are taking us back again to the beginning. Just like what is happening here, they will eventually take them back again. That at so time, some years, 2023 or 22, you lost your seat. Do you know there were some judges in which they said they overstayed their offices. They had to return back some of those salaries that you get it. But they were there. Somebody allowed them. Look at the way they created issues.
Do you think the president should interfere in this? Because you mentioned Operation Wait here. Some people feel that if the president doesn't intervene, it is something like that can take place in Rivers State. would you consider the president intervening now that the Supreme Court has given its judgment?
Well,
intervening in the sense of telling the CBN to start giving them their allocation or what? I really need to understand what this will portend.
Well, if you consider the role Minister of FCT, Wike, has played in all this, it is difficult to think that Mr. President himself is not deeply involved in all this going on, all the things going on there.
But like Mr. President hasn't indicated.
No, Mr. President has indicated actually. In fact, after the
body language,
the decampment of these 27 characters, it was Mr. President that, knowing it was illegal and unconstitutional, still organized a meeting to resolve, and then asked these same 27 people to go back and all that stuff.
And gave an eight-point resolution.
The president himself has been part and parcel of the whole crisis. So I think he thinks, but I don't know if he really analyzed or saw the outcome, because it may be something that is beyond him. It may be something that is beyond him, because like the other guy rightly pointed out, Lawal pointed out here, the creek is a very, very unique area. Particularly in this instance now that Nigerian military capabilities have been overstretched. Virtually every state of the country has some crisis. In Zamfara, Kebbi, Niger, virtually everywhere. So do you even have the extra soldiers to deploy to the creeks? And these are areas where once they start shooting gun, no oil company will want to be there.
At all?
None. Once you start shooting, no oil prospector will want to be anywhere in another place. Why
are we having pockets of disruption? We saw the one that happened in Lagos. The first time it happened, they said it was the president that wanted it like that. Things turned out, he said no, he did not approve the way that guy was impeached. Then he was reinstated. No, they go back in, nothing. Why are we having these disruptions without any due legal process?
No, the worry should actually be, why is Mr. President being fingered in all these disruptions?
Thank you very much.
In the Obasa case, it's been mentioned. In Imo State, it's mentioned. In everywhere, it's been mentioned. So, in Kano, it's mentioned. Is it that he thinks he can master the whole trick? Well, I want Mr. Tinubu to realize that Nigeria is bigger than any person. And even when you think you have it all, that may be when you are at the verge of losing it all. So I think he should be a bit more human. Understand that he has to give in to some certain things. You must not get everything 100%. When you're trying to get everything 100% is when you are bound to lose 100%. That is life.
All right. Renowned lawyer and activist Dele Faratimi has declared that Nigeria's judiciary has become an accomplice in the country's downfall rather than a pillar of justice. He argued that elections and reforms cannot fix a country, as the political structure is deliberately designed to sustain oppression. Faratimi stressed that Nigeria's legal system has failed its citizens, serving the interests of the ruling elite rather than upholding justice.
Yeah, I'm hearing you.
Yeah.
Okay.
Do you agree with his line of thought?
Well,
with the way he encapsulated the judiciary.
I certainly agree with him. I mean, I certainly agree with Faratimi on this issue, because the judiciary has, rather than being the last hope of the common man, has become even the worst nightmare of the common man. I mean, the worst nightmare. You can hardly, as a common man, get justice. Justice is not a mirage. Justice, you can know what is just. God has placed it in every person to know what is just and equitable. So, but when the Supreme Court now begins, or when the judiciary now begins to venture into what is clearly unconstitutional, what is clearly unjust, you now begin to wonder, what did we get ourselves into? And it's not far-fetched. The reason it's not far-fetched, if you look at the current Nigerian judiciary, too much powers is placed in the office of the Chief Justice of Nigeria. He's chairman of the Judicial Service Commission. He's the chairman of the judiciary in this country. So every judge anywhere is made to fear the CJ. And when you look at the character of people that are made CJs in this country, it's worrisome. If they go to make sure that the government was even in control of the judiciary, they had to ensure and rig out a sitting CJ. That's Onohe. Onohe was set up, and the government crafted a low-ranking administrative officer, who was the Code of Conduct Peru chairman, to remove the CJ of a country. The moment that was done, the judiciary was defeated. And who did that was Buhari's regime. They removed Onohe to disgrace him, despite his not being virtually become a parastatal of the executive, just like the legislature has become. So unlike what was envisioned in our constitution, to have 3 arms of government, the executive, the legislature, and the judiciary, we now have just one, the executive. With the legislature, look at National Assembly with Akpabio there, and the CJ with with Kekereku there. These are just like parasitals of the executive. And why I say Kekereku was this judge who, for those who don't know, she was the one that chaired the panel that declared Hope Uzodinma, who carried forth in an election and declared him to be the governor of the state.
But she came in and we've seen she wanted to sanitize the judicial system.
Forget that comment she's making. We know what I mean. Look at how Imo State has become in the 5 years of Hope Uzodinma. So, and this is the person who is now the CJ of the country. So we're not really expecting much, and that's why I say I very much agree with Dele Farotimi's comments that the judiciary is no longer what we thought it was. Unfortunately for us, during the military, the judiciary was even the beacon of justice. The judges then had the guts to challenge the military regimes. Several instances, the courts ruled against military dictators. But what do we see now? We see that the judges, particularly at the apex court, whatsoever the president wants is what they rule. Even when the president or the executive is clearly in the wrong. So we need to rejig our system. As it is now, the judiciary cannot be said to be the last hope of the common man. We have to really rejig it and maybe rename it until we are able to get our act together. What we have now is a disaster in the making.
If you say rejigging, who are those that will ensure that it's rejigged?
Yes, unfortunately, when you say rejig, the constitution itself, the Nigerian constitution, like I have said severally, it's a fraudulent document. I'm very, very clear that why I say it's a fraudulent document. Yes, it's because what we call a constitution starts with a big lie. We, the people of the Federal Republic of Nigeria, do come together and make unto ourselves. Nobody came anywhere to do anything. The 1999 Constitution is a schedule of a military decree, decree number 24 of 1999, signed by Abdulsalam Abubakar. It is not a people's constitution. That is why on the day Obasanjo was sworn in, there was even no copy of the constitution for him to be sworn in with. So we need to really come together and decide what do we want in this country. And the way forward is to have a conference of the nationalities.
What about the confab report?
Good. The confab report, Goodluck Jonathan had the guts to assemble a confab, but he didn't have the guts or the charisma to implement it. He was a weakling, actually. He was not a very strong character person. But that is the only way forward. Otherwise, what we're just doing is trial and error. We keep on trying. Tomorrow we change constitution. We will say they want to amend 3 or 4 sections. The next day, come on. For how long are we going to be rolling?
Oligarchs who were supposedly, maybe he was afraid of them.
No.
If you look at the constitution, it favors a certain geographical location.
Whatever it favors. If Goodluck Jonathan was a man, if he was a man in the real sense of it, he could have done his way. But we had a character then who was imposed as president who didn't understand what the meaning of presidency was. And that is why we're in this mess we find ourselves.
When Nigeria president is the most powerful president in the whole world.
You are right. He's the most powerful.
Yes, now.
In terms of what can do in Nigeria. But we had a man who, the report was there, implemented it, and he was now saying he got flat-footed. So that is the way we can only change it, because we have to go to that framework, decide the constitution we want. People will meet together, then we'll decide the kind of judiciary we want. We cannot have a judiciary that the president will appoint the CJN as his will and decide, and the CJN will become the chairman of the National Judicial Council, decide who can be made a judge. That was why in one of the last CJs, the Ariwola, he was just appointing his relatives and friends as judges all over. And in fact, the judiciary was now set to become a sexually transmitted appointment. It's either you are a girlfriend or boyfriend or
SCA.
Good. But jokingly as it is, that is the reality.
Wow.
Ariwola, the last CJ, had his brother, his sister, they were all over. Yes, they were all over. Even in the Court of Appeal, some of them are still there. And that mechanism, that system has to be cleansed. All those who smuggle themselves into the bench must be removed for us to have a chance at correcting the rot in the Nigerian judiciary.
Professor Eja has validly spoken. Did you have anything to contribute before we look at one of the topics before?
That thing is also in the assembly. That's it. That's why they said anything the president brings will sign. They sack and the assembly say it open that anything the president. So why are you there now?
Why are you there?
Even I keep saying it. In practice, constitutionally, the reps they have more power than the executive, because executive cannot remove the reps, but the reps can remove executive.
That's right.
They can impeach the executive now.
In fact, in regards to that, there are emerging reports.
Even the judiciary can remove
There are
him.
emerging reports that have indicated that the Senate is not united in the suspension of the Kogi Central Legislator Natasha Akpabio. You know, this case has been on for 2 weeks and they've been getting development. So, because of the heated dispute with the Senate President Godswill Akpabio, now, a ranking senator who spoke anonymously disclosed that some senators didn't sign Natasha's suspension reports. Natasha was suspended for 6 months on Thursday following a report by the Senate Committee on Ethics, Code of Conduct and Public Petitions. Well, the ranking senator quoted that some lawmakers are not satisfied with the development. He questioned why the committee rushed its decision, arguing that the hearing on the matter was initially scheduled for Tuesday, March 11, only for it to be abruptly rescheduled. He disclosed that many senators, including ranking members, were absent due to a tax reform retreat organized by the Senate Committee on Finance, yet the hearing was moved forward unexpectedly. The lawmaker also insisted that due process was not followed, as Natasha's probe proceeded despite a court injunction halting the investigation. According to him, that's why 13 of them didn't sign the suspension report. Meanwhile, Natasha, in her immediate response to the suspension, has declared that injustice will not be sustained.
Maybe Natasha should be called the Pharaoh team of House of Assembly. You get it? Because I saw she has the right to speak, and she was speaking.
No, she was speaking.
It's just she was just speaking.
Although the decision was based on the fact that she did not obey the Senate standing rules as to the seat allocation and all whatnot.
No. See, is that the standard that anybody can just change your seat?
It's not the first time. They say it happens
there
like
will be
that
chaos
in the house.
now.
So it happens.
That means others have not been talking. They've been groaning. I mean, they've been grumbling under. But she had the boldness to speak, and she has to be made the scapegoat.
Well,
you remember Ninji case? What did Ninji do?
Case.
Ninji,
because
what did he
he
do?
questioned the fact that the budget was padded.
He was only talking about what he saw, and he was suspended. Is that also what? Is that standing rules that you cannot speak? The moment they give it to you, take it like that. You are a rubber stamp. Just stamp it the way you see it. Is that what assembly is supposed to be? Look at Britain. Have you seen how when they are doing their own parliamentary? You see the way they talk to each other. In fact, the prime minister is on his. He doesn't sit. The prime minister doesn't sit. All of them will bring allegations against him, and he has to answer that allegation. You see the way they'll be talking like that place is on fire. Like they have come there to fight. You see all these reasons behind him. I see parliamentarians, firing him, and he coming in to defend himself. But here he said, don't worry, anything the president bring will sign.
I think the Senator Natasha issue is most unfortunate, and the Senate has only embarrassed itself the more. The person of Akpabio, Akpabio has had several instances of women coming out to allege sexual harassment against him. In fact, one of a woman, the former MD of NDDC, Joy Nunes, claimed to have slapped him when he tried to exceed his bounds. So it's not a new thing. I mean, and the way the Senate handled Senator Natasha's petition was most unfortunate. They relied on one of their orders that a senator should not sign should not sign a petition. A senator should not sign a petition, and I think that order cannot stand the test of justice, because perhaps they never thought that there will be a time when a senator will have cause to bring a petition.
Yes.
Because a fundamental principle of law is that you must be allowed to present your case, and you must be heard. Both sides must be heard. So if there is an order that precludes a senator from bringing a petition on his or her own behalf, then that order is patently unjust. So to have used that to knock off the petition is silly. And then, like you rightly said now, if they move the date forward, you don't give parties time to even respond or to bring in their lawyers or to even come and defend themselves. And you just say because it is dead on arrival. That was the words the chairman of that committee on ethics used. That dead on arrival comment even removes him from sitting over that case. because you've already concluded before hearing the issues. So the chairman of the Senate Committee on Ethics should not have participated in that process. And to finalize the wrongs of that process, the same Senate President, Akpabio, against whom Natasha petitioned, was the man who presided over the sitting that now voted to suspend her. It's silly.
Yes. In total contrast to what Barrister Darlington disclosed yesterday. Barrister Darlington is of the opinion that Natasha should have obeyed that. Okay, for example, why didn't she come up if this harassment was ongoing? Why didn't she say this before now? Was it when they changed her seats? Was it when she was removed as the chairman of these committees? She now decided to cry sexual harassment. Okay, why didn't she go to court? And he also talked about the fact that she is weak and she doesn't have that maturity. That there is how to comport yourself in dealing with issues like this. His own notion is completely in contrast to what you're saying.
His notion is most unfortunate and shows it's an attack on femininity. You don't tell the victim when to cry out. You don't know what she's been going through. So if she decides that enough is enough, that is when enough becomes enough. You don't say, why didn't you shout the first time it happened or the second time it happened? And why shouting now? So, his reasons to go against her or that she's weak. What does he mean by she's weak? In fact, Natasha came out.
A better way she would have handled this.
She came out.
She would have done, obeyed first.
Let me
That's his issue. She should have
sorry.
obeyed first.
Let me land. She came out as a very strong lady because, despite all those attempts to shut her out, she still stood her ground and she marshaled out her points in very sensible order. And she even went the extra step of putting down a petition. So what else do you want her to do? You want her to come and be physically brawling in the floor of the Senate? She's done what she should do as a distinguished senator. Now, it is the shame of the Senate president that he did not allow this to go through the normal process. If I were the Senate president, I would have stepped aside and allowed somebody to even preside over the final issues of that case. Yeah. But he doesn't even understand these processes. He sits down there and becomes a judge over his own case. He's simply joking.
I want to bring up a case in America. Look at the case of Bill Clinton. Cosby. People were coming up with cases of 10 years, about 15 years, and then there was justice. Look at the case of Puff Daddy and so many others. You see people who have been victimized for 15 years. Even what about R. Kelly? People who have been victimized for many years. The moment they come out, the law takes its effect. It is here they will say she should have talked like that very day. Do you know whether she was threatened? Do you know whether she thought maybe after this one it will stop, and it didn't stop, and she had to voice out?
That's right.
And you are now saying, is this justice? Justice says it must be immediate use. If the moment it passes that time, you can't get justice again. Is that what you're saying in the Constitution?
No, it's not.
That when you want to, if you don't complain immediately, it happened to you that time, that you can't get justice on it. It doesn't give timeline.
So say that it's not a big deal. Every little thing women will shout sexual harassment or what is this? Were some of the things, the legal practitioner was pointing out yesterday that every little thing, it's always like sexual harassment. That men too are harassed, men through this route. But the thing is, she spoke up. Some people don't speak up, but she decided to speak up. Now she's speaking up and is being doubted. How do you think this reflects on the generality of the public, especially those who do not have the affluence, who do not have the connection to help themselves? Because there's sexual harassment in offices, there's bullying and intimidation in offices to women. You will have colleagues who will, just because you are a female, decide to say they will slap you, nothing will happen. Possibly because of some miscommunication or miscomprehension of words, they will say they will slap you or something. Nothing will happen. The organization will not do anything. These things happen in every sphere. So when it's happening like this in such a place, what kind of message is that sending? Who protects the woman?
Now, the people who are put at risk by what the Senate has just done are the girl child, the female students, universities who are polytechnics, who may be harassed by their lecturers or even the deans of studies, the civil servants in the various offices, who may be harassed by the directors and all that stuff. What have you told them? If a lady of the stature of Senator Natasha can be shot out in this manner, what do you think will happen to? In fact, you've given a license to molesters, to abusers of women to go ahead and nothing will happen. I will want to see the day this same Senate or House will sit over any petition by of sexual harassment from schools,
well,
because they are bound to happen.
The First Lady has spoken, and she spoke in defense of the 10th Senate following the allegations of sexual harassment against Senate President Akpabio by Senator Natasha. In fact, when she was addressing journalists ahead of International Women's Day, which by the way is tomorrow, she says that the Senate remains a mature institution that deserves respect. She downplayed concerns about the handling of the allegations, asserting that lawmakers are doing what is needful. She says, I know with what is going on in the Senate, people may wonder why I'm not taking an opposing stance, but I believe the Senate is handling matters as it should. It is an esteemed and mature institution that should not be dragged into a controversy. So she reflected on her 12-year tenure as a senator, encouraged Nigerian women to assert themselves in leadership, that they must uplift themselves and ensure they are not spoken to inappropriately. You can always shut things down. You shut down such behavior before it even begins. In other words, Natasha shouldn't have even encouraged it. The first time she got a hint that the Senate president was trying to, possibly ask her out or whatever, she should have been resolute and shut it down before it became what it is. So she's standing with the 10th Senate and blaming Natasha for not handling the matter well.
With all due respect to the office Madam Tinubu occupies, she should be ashamed of those comments she's just made. She might, her case is different. She's had a former governor as a very rich billionaire husband, and then maybe she has certain perks which others don't have. She should have aligned herself with what Natasha is trying to do. At least let the petition pass through. Yes. Let it be inquired into. Let there be a proper investigation, and not to stay by the side and talk crap. Because what she has just said amounts to crap. Shut down what? This is the Senate president who, under the Nigerian law, is like a demigod. I mean, when he's actually just a primus inter pares. He's the first among equal. But the way he carries himself, the differentials in his emoluments and in his perks with that of other senators almost makes him a god. So, and you said the woman should have shut it down. You heard her say she tried to move a motion on several occasions, and this man did not allow that motion to take place. And you say she should have just shut him down and then not even be recognized to speak. Because unlike in reasonable sessions of reasonable assemblies over the world, every senator should have been given 5 or 10 minutes to speak. But in Nigeria, you can only speak when you are recognized by the presiding officer, the senator. Which means if he does not recognize you, you may go 3-4 months, 1 year without speaking. And you say shut him down. Senator Tinubu, Oluremi Tinubu does not do her office any well, and I wonder what she will be telling young girls tomorrow for International Women's Day, when she has actually backstabbed a fellow woman. It would have been better for her not to have made those comments she just made. Quite unfortunate.
Just kept quiet.
You just kept quiet. You don't.
I said she should have just kept quiet.
Yes, and let it flow.
Yeah.
Not come out and.
She's been in the Senate for so long, and
then
what do you achieve from me? 12 years.
Ladies and gentlemen, let's take your calls and your reaction. The number to call is 08036929933. That's the phone number to call. The WhatsApp number is 0817-1756-338. 0817-1756-338. That's the WhatsApp number to send your messages to. Hello, good evening, welcome. How are you?
Good evening, I'm all right.
All right, so what's your name?
I'm Mazi Obina. I'm calling from Olodia, Papa.
All right, go ahead, sir.
Sorry, sir. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, sir. How are you, sir?
Now, well done, sir. I want to say something concerning this NEPA issue. This NEPA, their own is too much. If I told you how much they give me in my shop, a smaller shop, 24,000 every month. They brought 24,000 last month. This month, the same 24,000. I've complained to the manager, to the office. He said I should go and meet the marketer. So I meet the marketer. The marketer said I should go and meet the manager. I meet the manager. The manager said I should go and look for people that I will give life. I said, how do you going to go and look for? Can't you bring this thing down to my own level that I can be able to pay every month? They said there's nothing they can do. This kind of thing, I don't really understand. You see this beating, those are the people. I'm very, very happy when I got that news. So those people, they deserve beating.
No.
They deserve more beating.
No.
I'm telling the honest truth.
Okay, I understand your angle, but the reality is this. The beating was wrong. It was illegal. But that NEPA has been robbing Nigerians Sorry, when I say NEPA, because they are still NEPA. Forget all this EDDC or whatever. They are all, I mean, it was a scam. There was no privatization. All those who bought the assets of the former NEPA just made money from it, and they're still making money from it. What Nigerians should be angling for is a revisit of that privatization. We should ask ourselves, why will a body, like Mr. Lawal had said earlier, a body that did not bring anything on board, they only just bought you have to buy your NEPA wires, you have to buy the pole, you have to contribute for transformer in your area, and then these punks come in and say they are the owner. They bill you for what you don't even consume. I'm also a victim of that. That I'm a victim of that does not mean I should applaud the soldiers for wrongly going to beat up NEPA. No, it is very wrong.
Hello, good evening, sir. How are you? Yes, sir.
My car, MTN, I did that with all people.
No vex. No vex.
I greet your lawyer there.
Thank you very much.
Good day, sir.
And Mr. Lawal Ekundayo too.
Evangelist. This is Evangelist to your friend.
All right, go ahead, Evangelist.
Yeah, should I go ahead?
Yes, go ahead, sir.
Yeah, actually, see, what is happening in Nigeria today is because of disobedience. You understand? When one person makes himself a god, you understand, in this country, that is why we are having this issue we are having today. Now look at how can the Supreme Court want to cause disaster in River State. Now look at the militants who have left the creek. Militants who have repented, who have run away from, shedding blood, killing, kidnapping. Now they are provoking them not to come back. We know that if these people come back, in fact, there will be a crisis in River State. And my family are in River State. They are there in River State. Business is not moving any longer again because of the selfishness of youth in Wiki. I don't know why that man is after looking after the achievement. He's not looking after the impact. Our government, they need to change. They need to look after the impact, not the how many things how am I going to achieve or gather weight. So all these things is the problem. So now look at the militants now threatening. Do you know that if these militants decide to do what they want to do, my dear, even the white men and other, even the judges and other things, they will be in all seats. Because those people, see, this government, they need to do something.
Right,
I mean, they need to do something before they explode this country.
Evangelist, thank you so much.
Please, I'm not happy. Esther, I'm not happy.
Sorry.
I'm not happy because my family is in River State.
Thanks.
My family, there are people who are helping me. They are there in River State.
Sorry.
Please talk to your government. Talk to Nigeria. Talk to Tolungu.
All right.
Thank you.
That's why we're having the conversation, that possibly their personnel can hear
Hello?
your voice and understand where you're coming from. Hello, good evening. How are you, sir?
Hello, good
I can
evening,
hear you.
gentlemen.
Good evening. How are you? Hello?
Yeah, good evening, my sister.
Can you turn down the volume of your listening device, please? It's disconcerting. All right.
I am
Hello?
Big Prince Collins.
All right. How are you? Go ahead, please. Hello?
Told our first lady, the current first lady now on seat, that if eventually him, can you remember it in that Senate House? Could you people remember such a time that this issue happened?
Yes. Hello?
Now, let me relate something from it.
Hello?
Now, when we are talking about a certain senator now that they suspended,
All right. I think you should call the number, not the WhatsApp, because you call the WhatsApp and the network is very, very poor. All right. Hello. Good evening. Welcome to the Evening Rush. What's your name?
This is Okangelina.
Hello, sir. Is that your name is?
This is Okangelina.
All right, sir. How are you?
I'm okay. I'm from Matuluku.
All right, Akpabio. Please go ahead.
I want to confirm from your analysis there. In the thinking of the Supreme Court judges, are they saying that those 27 lawmakers are in PDP or in APC? Are they saying that they didn't defect or they are still in PDP? I want to know because it's surprising. People say they are in APC. I mean, they have left the PDP to APC. So, in their ruling, are they saying that this people did not defect or what? Because we saw the video. That's number one. Number two, I think the treatment meted out to that lady was unfair. The Natasha of a woman. If the woman had an issue, or if the woman had if the woman has alleged that this thing happened to her, I think they should have just allowed the case to flow and then hear her out. If she has evidence, she will tell that. The onus will be on her to provide evidence why she had to allege that the whole sitting Senate president, molested her or sexually harassed her. So if you didn't give her that opportunity, you just intimidated her. You don't want her to be heard. You just slammed her 6 months. It means you are hiding something. That's the impression they've given us. They should have allowed the woman the matter to go get to the end, so that we know who is lying between Natasha Udwaga and the Senate president. Now that they have the way they did it now, it means that they're just trying to cover up. And look at I'm hearing that the federal government or whoever wants to mediate between. I don't want it like that. We want to hear the real thing that happened. They should not
Thank you very much, Akpabio. Let's take more calls, all right? Please, let's take more calls. 08036929933. Hello, good evening.
No,
how are you?
Good evening.
Good evening, sir. How are you?
I'm fine. This is Paul from Egbeda.
All right, Paul, please go ahead.
Yeah, I would want the barrister to help me make understanding of the following points. Does it mean that if an armed robber or a thief broke into a place and maybe the owner of the house or the occupants of that house... Hello?
Go ahead.
We are hearing you.
Yeah, the occupants of that house could not lay hands on the thief or the robber. And then there is CCTV camera that pictured everything that transpired. Does it mean that that video evidence cannot be presented in the court of law? That's number one. Number two, the 24 people,
27
house members,
27.
yeah, 27 members, they did make an appearance in the assembly hall, and then there was an announcement declaring their defection, which was captured on video. Is there any law that says when an announcement of that nature was made, when you present it in the court of law, it will not be accepted as an evidence? Let the barrister please help me to understand it, because I'm confused. Thank you.
Very much.
Thank you very much. I think, like I said, the facts are very clear. And the law is also very clear. Those 27 men decamped to the notice of all Nigerians right in the floor of the house. There was video evidence, there was everything. And the law does not require any other thing to be done for their seats to be vacant. On that date, at that time of defection, that is when they lost their seats. And no matter of political gymnastics or arrangements or meetings can bring them back. Even a Supreme Court judgment cannot bring them back. They have left their seats. So that's why some of us are still wondering what was the basis of this Supreme Court decision. But some of us have also stopped even wondering with this particular Supreme Court.
Right.
Because they've done a lot of funny things that begets reasoning.
Hello, good evening, sir. How are you?
Yeah, good evening. My name is Chike.
Chike, where are you calling from?
I'm calling from Alba.
All right, Chike, please go ahead.
Yeah, Esther, I noticed something that you like talking about Natasha matter since last week.
There is a development now. It's a development. It's part of the topic, hot topic. So it's a development. There's a development
I was even thinking whether
day.
Natasha, you're doing anything for Natasha.
Okay, please, what is your response or reaction to the issues? What do you want to talk about? Or do you have an issue talking about Natasha?
Character. She's not a role model.
She's not a?
She's not a role model. She don't have good character.
All right.
That is the problem. Natasha is not. That's all that matter that women have been oppressed. You should be talking about.
Okay, what other issue do you want to react to, please? Because you're calling to criticize. You're saying Natasha, and you're talking about Natasha again.
Natasha, she has a very bad attitude.
All right, thank you
even
very much.
Even the way she talks, even the way she dreads. He's not a role model.
Thank you very much. That is his own perception. There is a development to the issue. We're having developments on this issue. every day, and it's the hot topic. So definitely we'll talk about it.
But the issue actually is not even her character.
Yes.
The fact is that she has a petition that she was sexually harassed.
That's his opinion.
And then
she has bad character. Maybe he has a personal experience.
Yes,
That's
but that's not our concern here.
Exactly.
Go to court.
Maybe he has a
If
personal experience.
he has issues with her. He should take her to
Maybe
court.
he has a personal experience with her. Hello, good evening. How are you?
Good evening.
Yes, good evening, sir. What's your name?
I'm Shege for calling from Satellite.
All right, Shaggy, please go ahead.
So I'm interested. I'm very, very following up what they're saying. The barrister, I quite understand what he's saying there. I'm happy with the way he's saying that because our judiciary has been so poor that nothing is happening there. You can watch all the cases that they're handling. It's just like the judiciary is being pocketed by someone, over there. And another thing again, I would like you to do for me, Esther, please. There's one video I came across today about a young Nigerian soldier that have been in detention for almost 49 days now. Why? Because he was preaching as a Christian, preaching on army uniform. So he was then caught and sent to the guard room for the past 21 days now, and nothing. The salary has been seized, nothing. And understand that this man has been was inducted into a Muslim by his brother-in-law. So when he grew up now, he found that it's not a Muslim, that he now got to convert to a Christian. And ever since, things have not been well with him. So he has been fighting up, and up till now, please, we want you to use your office to talk to the people concerned so that the case can be tried and release the young man from that detention.
Where is it conscripted to? Where is his location? Where is his base?
His name is Adam Musa, but it's a Christian baptismal name is Aaron.
No, where is his base? Where is his base?
He mentions Zamfara State, where he come from. He mentions Zamfara State. It's a Nigerian army.
All right. Thank you very much. All right. 08036929933. That's the number to call. All right. 08036929933. Okay. We'd like to hear what you have to say because very soon I'll be going to the WhatsApp messages. Hello. Good evening. How are you?
Hello, good evening.
Yes, good
Esther.
evening. Yes, sir. What's your name, please?
My name is Shola. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you, Shola. What location?
Okay, yes. I greet the guests in the studio too. What I want to point out concerning this, the senators and the way they are shoving aside Natasha. They are to me, I think they are just humiliating this lady. You know that there was one, if you can remember, there was one of the senators, was it last year? I can't remember his name. Maybe it's from Kogi or Niger, that made this allegation that most of his colleagues, that they are of questionable characters. He mentioned that there were drug dealers amongst them. If you can remember, this is something I read and I heard. I saw it on TV. So what's my point? My point is that, it is such an irony that we have this kind of people, birds of a feather flock together, and what do you expect? These are things that are normal things in their midst. Look at even Mama Bakassi. If you remember when Mama Bakassi came to Arise,
yes,
she made this statement that sounds so, very funny to the ear. She said that as a senator, when you are a female as a senator, you cannot be harassed. Which means that what she's saying is a norm, is a normal thing. You understand? So these are the kind of leaders we have. And if we have such leaders at the ends of affairs, do you think this country can move forward? The judiciary, the us, even the army, you understand? These are I don't see any hope for this country. No, you see me, I call a spade a spade. I don't know what can happen, and that thing that can happen can only be a form of revolution, doesn't necessarily have to be violent, and it starts from the people. So I don't see any hope for this country. There's no justice. The law is only made for the poor and for the weak. You understand? So that's the way I see it. I don't know where
Let me just correct. Let me correct.
So I think the story he's referring to was about, I think there was a situation with the NDLEA and a senator. The NDLEA said they found drugs in the senator's home. And then the senator was like trying to go on a vendetta against them. And so the NDLEA now came out to tell us that the reason why this whole conflict is ongoing is because the chairman of the agency then, Brigadier General Mohammed Buba Manawa, during a media briefing in 2024 October, he said the senator's house is in Ilorin, Kwara State, was raided and a consignment of drugs were recovered. And he said the reason is because this individual was asked to defend or what he's doing with this. And so he started attacking the NDLEA. They now came out to the press to tell us the reason why this attack was ongoing, in response to the fact that some of them are into all of this.
Well, I just wanted to mention that these people, they're not leaders, they are rulers. And there's a marked difference between a leader and a ruler. Yes. Rulers rule by the whip. Most of these characters in that National Assembly were imposed in positions. And then when they didn't win elections. We know how these things happened, and this 2023. So they can do some of these things until we get our acts right, until we get our democratic process.
You said they didn't win election. I showed us
that
they won. Good evening.
Yeah, my name. Yeah, this is Chris. I'm calling from Ojo.
All right, Chris, please go ahead.
Yeah, Esther, I was hearing you when you were like asking the barrister there that was it that the legal team did not present enough evidence, and I was surprised.
Was it that what?
You understand? That Fubara's legal team did not present enough evidence to show that
the evidence, the video of the lawmakers defecting. Yes.
So, and I wanted to ask you, was it the same thing that when Lawan did not contest for election, and that those people that took him to the Supreme Court, they didn't present enough evidence before the Supreme Court said that Lawan was bring him back to the Senate? The same thing happened to the current Senate president.
Yes.
That didn't contest an election, that went for that contested for election and didn't contest his position, and he was still drafted into the Senate. The same thing, are we going to say that they did not have enough legal team? Same thing went to what did they call it? These lawmakers that we are talking about. See, the judiciary is corrupt. Is one thing that we should know about. They are very corrupt. No matter what the evidence that we present. I remember sometimes there was Ganduje, when they caught him on tape with dollars, you understand? So what happened to that matter? Is it that they did not have enough evidence? So let's leave all these things. Those men in the most of our judicial system now is very bad. You understand? They are acting based on political interest. So and my question now is how come did they sack those lawmakers in Plateau State? You understand? If they are not telling us that these people did not defect, on what ground was those lawmakers that was sacked in Plateau State?
I mean, the Supreme Court judgment should come from an antecedent. That was a verifiable antecedent. So what is the difference between that case and this one?
You see, what the justice of the Supreme Court and even our judiciary should realize that Nigerians are taking note. Just like this last caller has mentioned, Nigerians have taken note of the ridiculous judgments coming out from the judiciary. I mean, and they are easily seen. They know so that something is wrong. And people now have lost confidence in this process. And when people lose confidence in judiciary, it's to attend to Israel. I mean, it's quite unfortunate. So there is need for the judiciary to sit up for posterity. And then that's why when the CJN, the Chief Justice, made some comments about the need to highlight integrity and all that stuff, we thought that there was going to be some change. That there was now they are turning a new leaf. But unfortunately, from this last judgment by this Supreme Court over this reverse matter, it's still the same thing.
Hello, good evening.
Yeah, good evening.
Sorry
good evening.
Sorry for keeping you waiting for a bit. He was explaining.
No, it's all right. I love the voice that I'm hearing. So, so Barrister, good evening, and your guest. Barrister, I'm just happy to see you. As a guest live, not on the telephone.
Good evening, sir.
Yeah, it seems Esther gave you a private jet to come.
No, I just wanted to commend the people for once.
Please tell us your name and your location, please. Tell us your name.
It's Tony Chukwudi from UK.
All right, Tony Chukwudi, go ahead.
I have a question, Barrister, to you there before I say other things.
Okay,
in law, both international and domestic law, is there any way a case, for example, in Nigeria, and somebody outside Nigeria can kind of sue the person outside Nigeria.
Human rights abuses. The international law allows for a case of human rights abuses if it's egregious, if it's very huge. It can be tried in any country. In fact, and countries that are signatories to certain international conventions can try people for wrongs. Let me give you an example. Spain once tried to try the Pinochet, the former dictator of Chile. There was a trial was instituted in Spain against that former president of Chile, but he was able to escape arrest. But for Nigeria, you can actually sue Nigerians, those who have led Nigerian government and committed atrocities. If they reside in some of these European countries, you can actually institute actions against them in those European countries.
All right, Tony Chikodi, are you okay now? We need to take more calls. Hello, are you okay
question.
now?
Yeah, I'm okay. Yeah.
All
So
right.
what I'm trying to say now is this: Esther, when you top up your phone, you use it, isn't it?
Yes. Hello.
Good. Now, and so many Nigerians. Why is it that Nigeria has been paying for something they are not using? I mean, the NEPA. I pay it too. My parents pay it too. Why are we paying for something that we are not using? That's one. Secondly, somebody just said something that made me to pick up this phone to call. When a woman, and you are telling a woman that woman doesn't have good character, has character anything to do with that? You approach that woman, touch that woman, that when that woman didn't give you any permission to do so, has that anything to do with character? Please, Nigerians, or mainly Nigerian men, has to separate separate a character from anything that has to do with me. If a woman is even naked, even a prostitute, in as much as that person is a prostitute, you have no right to touch that prostitute. Here in the Western world, they will tell you, unless that woman...
He was blaming me. Why are you talking about Natasha? Why are you talking about Natasha? I'm like, it's a hot topic.
Yeah,
Talking about it.
Because many Nigerian men has to be educated. There are some of them that went to university, but the common sense is lacking.
Let's take more calls. Okay?
That's right.
Thank you very much. Thank you for
Thank you.
calling. All right, I sincerely do appreciate. Now, I would like to take some messages. All right, kindly permit me to take messages for now. I've been taking up quite a number of calls. Comrade Abraham says, it is indeed an unfortunate situation seeing those who ought to protect citizens found engaging themselves in public show of shame. That we've got questions to ask ourselves the kind of society we found ourselves. The collapse of the national grid has become a recurring decimal, yet those in government are keeping mute. Okay, probably because they aren't using electricity from same grid. Well, we are watching as the planet is listening. Well done, comrade. Okay, they wonder how somebody would tell me that we gave them prepaid meters, but they refused. Just the same way they gave all Nigerians prepaid meters and Nigerians refused. Only that in a case like this, military can't grant interviews or for us to hear their own side of the story. But I have no pity for these people called NEPA, even if the army will kill them. Calm down. It's PHCN now. It's not NEPA. All right. Good evening, Esther. The fight between Army and Ikeja Electric over lack of payment by Army is really hitting us hard here in Oshodi. Please, the federal government should intervene because we are not owing Ikeja Electric, and they should find a way to deal with Army without affecting us. To be honest with you, Esther, we in Oshodi are suffering so much over lack of power supply, and we cannot continue wasting our money in buying fuel to power generators. Happy weekend to you, Esther, from His Royal Highness Bisinwoko. Trust me, Bisinwoko is not only you. Good evening, Esther and your guest. I live in a room south. Since on October last year, I've been paying 30,000 naira till date, and I'm having issue with my landlord now because I cannot afford to pay again. Godwin from Ijegu. All right. Good evening, VOP and Esther. The major reasons for all these attacks and misbehavior is a lack of rule of law in Nigeria, especially under this administration. No one has been punished for any offense being committed. Started from the day of snatching ballot boxes to the ones threatening and still fulfill the threats with no punishment. Although I have no pity for the electricity staff. Ralph from Satellite Town. Now wow. Electricity staff, you guys need to do better in your disposition to your customers, because they're not supporting you. They're not even pleading on your behalf. Good evening, VOP. This disco should be forced to distribute prepaid meters to their customers. Chidozie from Ajegule. Be like saying that these efforts will force them. Good evening, Sama. I tried reaching. Okay. All right. Okay, we'll get back to you. All right, we'll get back to you. Thank you very much. I will get back to you after the show. This barrister is a real barrister, really worthy. He knows what he's saying and sensible, analyzing without emotions and tribalism. Esther, be bringing him every Monday and Thursday, I beg. Who be you? I will report to you. I will report to you. Esther Machuku, greetings to you and your wonderful guest. Please, Esther, this information is not in your desk, but me to find out. I learned that Kekena Pep operators were asked to pay 10,000 naira each, that the order is from Lagos State. Help me verify this because there was no definition of that payment for now. Those from Ajayi State were complaining about it. Daniel from Agege. Secondary, have you heard about anything like that?
No.
Okay, we're going to ask questions. We'll call the union. All right? Thank you very much for that information.
He's asking because this union and extortion, they are not the same. We have union, we have the tout. Union is supposed to be in the parks, not on the street collecting money. If you have your park, then you do your unionism and you pay once a year. It's an annual due. That has become something like everyday money. That's not the way it's supposed to be. So when you want to ask that question, you ask first the Minister of Commissioner for Transportation in Lagos State to hear whether they impose anything.
If they did not impose, then we know that it's the louts that are the ones that imposed it. All right. Mr. Lawyer in the studio, I would like to seek your clarification on this matter. If a member of the House of Assembly defects from one political party to another, does Governor Fubara have the authority to automatically cease recognizing them as members, or will the court's intervention be required to decide on their status? Abidin from Bagada.
I think I've answered it severally. The law is very clear. Once they decamp, once they defect, they are finished. They are out of it. It's like when somebody drops dead, like you rightly mentioned. You are out, you're out. Governor does not have to do anything. He just has to start dealing with the remainder members of the House until INEC conducts an election. And if INEC does not conduct an election, then the House number, the population of the House is the number of remaining members of the House of Assembly.
All right. Good evening, Esther Wachuku and the guest in the studio. Operation Waiti is looming in Rivers State if President Tinubu does not intervene at this junction, unless he's afraid of Nyesom Wike, and we cannot witness another Operation Waiti, where both houses and human beings were sprayed with petrol and burnt to ashes. Yes. Although the interpretation of the Supreme Court CTC says there was no evidence of the 27 pro-Wike lawmakers decamping to APC, we are confused. However, my fear is the coming 2027 general elections, because APC government had bought all the three arms of government, together with the insecurity everywhere in the country. God show us mercy. Mr. Ugumbi from Idimu. Someone did all this in just 1 year in office, and some people in a killer party are envious in all it be to truncate the good efforts. God will judge them. I think this person is referring to Senator Akpabio Dwagan. So with all she's been able to do in 1 year, so maybe she feels that they're jealous of her.
Or even Fubara, what is done in 1 year.
Yeah. Okay. Good evening, Esther. I'm completely in support of the position of your guest there. Esther, are you aware of how these so-called power people have been extorting and harassing Nigerians on a daily basis, making money, making people to pay for darkness by fire, by force? What goes around comes around. As regards the Niger Delta threat, I'm totally in support of the barrister there. The crisis the Nigerian judiciary is going to create, I don't think they'll be able to resolve it. You are generating huge revenue from a zone, and you are giving a judgment to deprive them of their own share of the revenue. It's unfortunate the type of people we have at the helm of affairs presently. Judges are bending laws, giving judgment that lack human face. It is a pity. Taiwo from Ejibo. Good evening, Esther Wachuku, our intelligent guest and VOP family. The River State issue may culminate into anarchy, which is avoidable. What the lawyer said there is similar to that of Femi Falana's stand. This is the same thing that made Imo State a theater of death, since Uzodinma that came forth was made #1 in the election. That was one of the freest election in Imo. This suspected manipulation of the system by power that may not land us well. May God save our land. Amechi from Mafoluku. Hello, Esther and fellow guests. I'm ND from North Korea. I'm writing to express. Okay, thank you very much, ND. Well done. Good evening. The woman senator put his allegation, even if true, are distractions. The Senate has buried it because the interview recently granted by Senator Itagiwa showed that the allegations themselves are not unusual and becoming of among the lawmakers. For us, they do help themselves emotionally to be able to make their kind of laws and carry their kind of oversight functions. Good evening, Esther. Senator Natasha resubmitted the petition and it was signed by a member of her constituency, yet the Senate did not deem it to look into the matter. Emeka from Abison Estate. Good evening, my sister Esther and the two guests in the studio. I am Chiemezim from Ijeshatadu. Politics is a dirty and a bad game. But this group of politicians made, politics isn't a dirty and a bad game. But this group of politicians made politics a very dirty and bad game. Imagine the president of the president and the FCT minister playing games with the citizens. Must you play games with every issue? And my annoyance is our pastors. None of them is coming out to tell the president and the politicians the truth. I believe our president is ruling us with a fetish, but I know they do. No, me, but good evening, crew. Esther and the crew. Good evening. Concerning the judgment of the Supreme Court, it was to make Rivers State rivers of blood politics. Rule of law gives you justice and not injustice. At first, what Supreme Court gave judgment lacking justice when it denied the people of Rivers justice and fairness by cutting off their federal allocations. Clear, biased, and negotiated injustice. The Supreme Court invoked the anarchy, and anarchy they will get. There is a saying in Igbo land that a man does not ask his fellow man, what can you do? And this is my interpretation of Supreme Court judgment to the good people of Rivers. NEPA, don't vex. Hey, Esther, good evening. Peter from Ijibo. I said it times with that number. If President Tinubu successfully captured the 2027 general election, Nigeria should just forget it. He will do two things. Either he lobbies the National Assembly for third term or amend constitution to be a 6-year term president. And he, the president, with the first benefactor, mark my words, it can't happen.
He will lobby God for extra life now.
It won't happen.
Extra life.
It cannot happen. You know why I say it cannot happen? The Northerners will not agree with what happened with during Obasanjo's time. It can't happen. So this is dead.
So will the Southerners agree? Will the Easterners agree? Will the South agree?
Even now,
I won't agree.
I'm just saying they will come out in their full element. Now they're just subpetting it because they feel naturally the zoning is supposed to be for the Southwest in the whole presidency reshuffling or rejuggling. Nigeria is run by cultists, kill and divide rule. I'm telling you, another Idi Amin of Uganda or Mobutu Seseko or Biya of Cameroon is coming gradually. NEPA don't vex, so no light anywhere now. I actually witnessed the invasion of Ikeja Electric Office at Okota. I welcome the development. Eye for eye, teeth for teeth. If now we, the bloody civilians, no light again for century. Tinubu is playing with fire. Okay. The light thing, they said it was national grid, partial collapse.
But the people will still pay now. Estimated billing. Don't worry.
Good evening, everyone. You all have spoken well. Esther, my #1 modern journalist, hugs. Thank you. The last time I checked, during Saraki's time as a Senate president, Akpabio did worse than this, and he wasn't even given 6 months suspension. And of the notions denial of his rights, just as he, Akpabio, and his I'm not going to read it out. Have given to Senator Natasha. In this company contraption called a country, women and ordinary masses are treated like trash by those rogues in power. Please tell Akpabio that Senator Natasha is still a senator and will always be a senator regardless of what is going on. Gosh, what a country ruled by insane persons and rogues. Emperor. All right, Emperor. Shame. The Supreme Court of Nigeria is full of old men that lack wisdom. Nigeria is in trouble with this government. Shame on IKEDC and EKEDC. Look at the power company that powered Aba Geometric Power. They have provided steady electricity and prepaid meters to customers. A reverse is a case of this too in Lagos. Good evening, the voice of the people. Please, please. Okay, thank you very much. I sincerely do appreciate that. Good evening, Madam Esther. My name is Femi from Egbeda. If somebody that is very reckless and uncoordinated is being smuggled to lead a sensible position of the National Assembly, he doesn't merit. You don't expect anything better than what the Senate President is doing now. How many senators has he suspended within 2 years? Who does that before in the history of Senate leadership? Good evening, VOP. Oloremi was harassed sexually by Dino Malai in the 8th Senate, but she has forgotten that so soon. Emmanuel. Good evening. Why are your analysts not saying anything good about this government? 2 refineries came on stream in about 18 months. Price of commodities gradually going down. One says Remi Tinubu did nothing, while a senator asked him to go to her constituency. The sentiment is too much. By God's grace, this country will be better. Ayo from Ayobo. Good evening, Ayo. Thank you for your message. Nigeria has greatly lost its integrity in the Committee of Nations. What is happening in Nigeria today is shameful. See those of them rolling us back in integrity, and money being wasted on frivolity. Akpabio and his cohorts making caricature of the Senate. Shame on them all. Chinedu from Badagry. All right. Good evening, my people. My name is Igwe Christian. My take is in all of this is Nigeria is a country not working. When there is breakdown of law and order, everyone will be without law. Air Force beating NEPA is because there is no law and order in the country. So everyone does as he or she seems deemed fit. Good evening, Esther the guest. Unfortunately, we have allowed our judiciary to be hijacked by Nyesom Wike. Somebody sarcastically said that we have 3 arms of government: executive, Tinubu; legislature, Akpabio; and judiciary, Nyesom Wike. This is where we found ourselves. Can this Supreme Court judgment be referenced in the future? Fubara must not go down. Anaklat Anabunwa from Alabado. All right, Anaklet. Good evening. My name is AA from Akonwajo, Lagos. Your guests are not sincere on River State judge's favor. The person their support is good, but when he does not favor them, it becomes evil. May God help Nigeria. For you to be a member of a political party, he or she must have a membership card. The 24 lawmakers have APC membership card. Your guests should stop deceiving people. AA from Akonwajo, Lagos. Interesting. Barrister Ezra. This person says that the information or the analysis being ruled out is not being truthful, objective. That because you don't have a membership card, automatically they did not defect.
What he doesn't understand is what the law provides is when you decamp from the party that elected you. Now, when you decamp and you go into the bush, that's your business. But did they decamp? Yes. Did they leave the party? Yes, they did. And that's simple.
All right. Good evening, Esther and the refined gentleman in the studio. I have thought that the analysts should have first quickly pointed out the contradiction in Oluremi Tinubu's stance on Senator Natasha's case with the Senate. In one breath, she wants the women to affirm and stamp their influence wherever they find themselves. In another breath, she's in support of Senate's position on the woman who was trying to affirm and stamp her influence. For me, she's confused. Comrade Goffin from Suriname. All right. Esther, seems like you brought... okay. All right. Okay, Esther, I don't believe one gender should be protected over one. I see it as a lean, weak sense of gender entitlement, a ridiculed to logical reasoning and common sense, because both female and male are members of a down-processed society being controlled by both male and female in key position of power. Because I am a man, am I immune to down pressure? Are you referring to down pressure or depression and discrimination? Would my complaints be heard and addressed because I'm a man? Would I walk into a bank or an office and get a job suddenly because I'm a man? Whenever there is an issue between a man and a woman, the cry of feminism and the gibberish of so-called gender bias and the cacophony of women are subjected to cruelty would override common sense. This person sounds so familiar. It almost sounds like, okay, Tay, well done. What would you say to his comment?
Well, there's liberty, it's free to have his own views, but the reality is that the women, the female gender is the weaker sex. I mean, ordinarily that's what they are viewed as. But particularly, we're focused on this particular instance where a woman has alleged that she's been sexually harassed. Okay. And rather than look into the matter, investigate it, there is an attempt to wash it under the carpet. So that is the issue here, not the specifics of the matter.
Then let me chip in something. What about the case of the Ninji? The Ninji case.
Senator Ninji.
He was talking about something that is happening, and they shot him. They shot his mic, they closed his mic, and sent him on suspension. Did they not give him suspension? And that's a man. Did they not give him? So what's the difference between the two? They did the same thing now.
As well. I want to ask people that are justified. Okay. Good evening, Esther Machua, intelligent guest and VOP family. The River State issue may culminate into anarchy, which is avoidable. What the lawyer said there is similar to that of Femi Falana's stand. This is the same thing that made Imo State a theater of death, since Uzodinma that came forth was made #1 in the election that was one of the freest elections in Imo. Amici from Mafovuku. All right, let me take this call. Hello, good evening. How are you? Hello, can you hear me? Hello,
yes,
can you hear me? Yes, good evening. How are you?
I'm fine, Esther.
All right. Well, what's your name?
This is Joval, Esther.
All right, Joval. Go ahead.
Let me greet Barrister. Barrister, I greet you.
Yeah, good day, sir.
And the other man in the studio, I've forgotten his name. Pardon me.
Mr. Lawal Ekundayo.
Mr. Lawal, I greet you very much, sir.
Sir. Thank you for recognizing me.
Let me sincerely thank the both of you.
Thank you.
On the position you took this evening regarding Natasha Akposi's case. That was Compla Darlington stood for yesterday. And
hello, Joval. Okay.
Can you hear me?
Oh, you're cracking up a bit, but continue.
Yes, can you hear me? But Darlington was completely opposite what he stood for yesterday. So I don't know what happened yesterday. And let yesterday be bygone. The honest truth is that the position the both of you have taken today, you do not tell a woman or a man who is sexually harassed when to speak out. there may be conditions that may be preventing a person being harassed from speaking out as at when that person didn't speak out. So that is by the way. Then on this River State, I think the federal government will be doing Nigerians great favor by making sure that River State case is settled beyond whatever court rules. It could use political solution to settle that problem, because if you know, judiciary has been causing us problem in this nation. Barrister, I am so sorry I'm saying this.
I've said worse than that.
Your family, as in they have been a problem in this nation. It was here, somebody just mentioned it, that Imo State number 4 came first. And when the former governor then represented that case, they said, leave it like that. Leave it like that. It will haunt us forever, but let's leave it like that. Look at this kind of mistake. A judgment has been rendered in the past, and another Supreme Court is saying that they will withhold allocation to the local government. I wonder where we are going to in this country. But when it starts, they should not enter plane and run away.
All right,
I just hope that the people of River State can take it easy, and let's find a political solution to this problem.
All right.
Good evening.
Thank you, Joval.
Thank you.
Good evening, Auntie Esther. Nigeria is a captured state. Please, I would like you to give that lawyer a permanent seat in your podcast. He's very intelligent. I like him. Engineer Jokos. Okay. Hello. Good evening.
Hello,
good evening.
Good evening, Esther. Good evening, Barrister.
Good evening, sir.
Please, who is speaking?
Yes.
What's your name?
My name is Tiki. I'm calling from Apapa.
All right, please go ahead.
I'm sorry, I'm driving, but I have to, to make this call. It's very, very important.
Okay.
I have always, explained the lifestyle of Gospel Akpabio in this video several times. And nobody can convince me that Natasha is accusing her, being falsely accusing him. It is very clear, a situation where you go and buy a standing machine and pay market woman 5,000 to come and protest against Natasha, to send a clear message that he did it. Then, where the problem I have with Natasha at this point is that she should bring out the evidence that she has in order to enable the supporter to protest against the Senate president to resign. So she has handed a 6-month ban, and she's still being sensitive about the evidence we have. It's quite unfortunate. This is the time for her to bring out that evidence so that we can protest against this evil. And that is that. The Kubara is only fighting for his life. Kubara have no option. What he's doing now might be illegal, but there is nothing he can do. Because if they allow Wiki and his men to impeach him, it will be more trouble for him. They may even put more allegation, another allegation like maybe testing him after with the EFCC. Before you know, you get in prison. So if I am Fubara, I will use every option available and defend my life. So thank you.
Thank you very much. I'll take one final call because we've actually run out of time. Good evening, Esther Olamileko from Lagos. The former female senators like your first lady that complained that Dino Melaye harassed her sexually, didn't support her because it's her party. Also, Itagiwa Biodu Urujimi, the former Ekiti state governor too, didn't support her. So the Senate is now a secret cult like. They say loyalty na cash and carry, objection na mortuary, everybody gets agenda. All right, hello, good evening. What's your name?
Hello, good evening. Chooks calling from Aja.
Chooks from Aja, how are you today? Go ahead.
Yeah, fine. Yeah, you cannot blame the Air Force too much.
Okay.
Because, the reason being that what they go through, look at the issue of NEPA, look at the weather that we are going through at this time. When they go to do their very hard work and they come back and they have challenges with the heat and everything, and by their training, I'm not supporting what they did. What they did was very, very barbaric. But I want to tell you that one of the reasons again that they did that thing, they did not even trust the political class because they have seen everywhere that it is messed up. Look at people that are governing us. Look at the National Assembly. headed by Mr. Akpabio. Look at the NSA, the allegation against NSA is still being unclear till now. Look at our man that is at Abuja. You know, is a thing God in this country. And look at so many states, almost about 9 states now, we are having issues from Kano, Osun, everywhere is in jeopardy. I'm just coming from the hospital now. I want to tell you, I went to the center to remove my teeth. No, and my government hospital. And one of the workers had to tell me, Baba, just go to a private hospital. I just got the tooth off within how many hours. I want to tell you, if not this weekend, I will be in serious pain. I am begging this Mr. Tinubu to please, because of the unborn generation, people are suffering, wallowing in very, very serious issues. All the lies, all this propaganda can never help. Thank you. Good night. We enjoy your program.
Thank you very much. God bless you. Thank you so much. That is the final call we can take today. It's precisely 8 minutes gone past the hour of 9. You know this program is from 7 to 9, so I think we've been able to cover up. We started around 7:11. So I think we've covered up for that time.
It's been a long day, really.
Yes, it's been a long day. Barrister Ezeluche, what's your final take?
Well, my final take is that we need to rejig our system. We need to go back to the fundamentals, the constitution, ask ourselves, do we want to have a country? Do we want to move forward? Because we can't today be talking of legislature, judiciary, executive, and they're all in a mess.
A couple of persons will say that we always criticize this administration and we don't beam the searchlight on the positive outcomes. So, do you think you're being too harsh on the administration, or you're realistically stating what is glaring, what is obvious?
No, what we should be concerned more with the structures. Now, when you even mention which positives, what you have to say, what positives really? That somebody mentioned that there were refineries from where? I mean, at what price are we buying the fuel in the market? Is there any plus? The cost of living has gone sky high. So when people say there are some even positives, you ask them what positives. But the issue is not even the person. The issue is not the administration. The issue is the structure of Nigeria. The constitution is the problem.
You're going back to the constitution.
Yes. So whether it was Buhari or Jonathan or now Tinubu, the problems are still there.
You and Tony Nadi are of the same perception.
Yes.
He's always grinding.
No, because yes, if the constitution is the problem, no matter what you do, it's like the templates we are using to work. The same president appoints the entire the CJ. The same president appoints or swears in the National Assembly. So one person holds all the power. So once that person has a problem, then the whole country has a mess.
All right, Mr. Lawal Kundaya, what's your final take?
Yes, I just want to say that when we come here to analyze, we are analyzing. Yes, it's not about hatred; it's about moving the country forward. If you have a car and the car developed will you be admiring the nice color?
No.
You park it and be admiring the nice color. You have to fix the problem. You must analyze and say what is wrong.
That's a good one.
That's a good one, yes.
That's what we are looking at here. That these are the issues. If the issues are fixed, then we will all smile and we'll talk about good things.
Exactly.
But now we have issues and we are talking about the issues so that the government can see these issues and fix the problem and you can all smile. Then the refinery somebody is talking about. Now, how can you take fuel in Lagos State? I mean, crude oil in Lagos State. You sell it back to Lagosians in international price. And somebody is telling me because there's a refinery, can the people afford it? Is that the way it's supposed to be? It's supposed to be selling to us at in our own way here. While you are making money internationally. But no, we are being sold to us at international price. Where it's at our backyard, they can trek there and get it.
Particularly when the government does not pay international salaries.
Yes, and they are not thank you.
They don't pay international salaries. When you pay international salaries, you can talk of international price.
And you attend that there's a refinery.
Yes.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much, Barrister Ezeluche, Mr. Lawal Ikundai. Sincerely do appreciate you. I appreciate your presence today, giving us your insights, giving us your professional clarification to these issues. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
All right, we've come to a wrap on the Evening Rush. Myself, an amazing, beautiful weekend, and I'll see you on Sunday for the Political Spotlight. Bye for now.